Shirt show. All right, let's go.
Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Shirt man! All right! Episode 127 of Shirt Show. We're talking with Dom from Superior Inc. in Colorado. Let's go!
Hey there, Sugar Plum.
There he is.
There he is.
Hey there.
What's going on?
I love that hoodie. It looks like it was printed. Like it looks like whoever printed it kind of fucked it up, though.
Mm-hmm. It's a little crooked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of probably.
My best buddy, old pal, made it for me.
Oh, he must be cool. Must be
It's
good.
soft and warm and close to my heart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And how's the fit? Like, did he get it right?
It's a great fit. Yeah.
Yeah. That surprised you,
fit.
didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Mm-hmm.
You know from all the hugs. You know, it's like a perfect tailor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you feeling any better? You don't sound better.
Yeah, I feel better. I just, I have that snotty head and scratchy throat stuff going on, so it's cool. Just lots of liquids.
You want to blow your nose for us?
Oh,
Can we hear it?
No. I just wiped it on this hoodie.
So you know how I said text me before you, log in?
Yeah.
And you know how you don't, you normally forget, like you normally forget that part. So I just hit record and I've been recording for a little bit just in case.
Okay, cool. Thanks, man.
But then you did it this time. You texted me. You said, hey, I'm about ready to jump in. And
because you hit me with that dad text, like couple things. And I was like, all right, fucking let's see what this bullshit is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and then it was a checklist of make sure you do this.
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. So guess what Joe and I watched on Friday? Last night? Friday, I think. Pretty sure Friday.
Is it Netflix?
Nope. That helps. That helps, doesn't it? Disney Plus.
Star Wars? The new Star Wars show?
No, although I don't know about a new Star Wars.
Yeah.
Is there one?
Yeah.
Hocus
Pocus 2?
No. Nope.
I don't know. What?
It's called Werewolf by Midnight.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You hear of it?
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
Pretty cool. Like it's about an hour long, black and white.
Was it good?
Good. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
We liked it a lot.
That's cool.
I know how you love shows. I was just trying to, give
I
you
saw
one
it.
there.
I haven't
What?
watched it yet.
Okay. So you didn't see it.
No. I laid in bed yesterday and watched Lord of the Rings Fellowship.
Yuck.
Yuck. Fuck you. I watch those like once a year.
Okay.
Love those movies. How was your week? Tell me about it.
My week.
Anything crazy or anything or just normal?
It's busy, when we were struggling a little with people either out sick or their kids were sick. And so they were out. Right. And then because they were out with their kids that were sick, then they got sick. And so then they were out more because they were sick and their kids were better. You know how that goes?
Yeah.
Kind of like this.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
we had our
we
had our Halloween party on Friday.
Yeah. And there was a picture on the internet with you in a hot dog suit.
I was a hot dog for a shirt show.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Did anybody try eating you?
Yeah. I got licked at both ends. It's pretty awesome because everyone here loves it and goes like all out and like spends I say everybody, but most people, 99% of people put a lot of effort into costumes, like custom made and everything. Like Brian and Bill were the dudes from Home Alone, like the robbers.
Oh, cool.
And Brian's costume was fucking him. The best part of the movie is, in my opinion, is when he gets electrocuted and he turns into a skeleton for a second and then goes away.
Oh, yeah.
So Brian had the hair like all stuck up, and he actually made the coat and put paint on it. What it was actually plastisol that he wiped on there and smeared it and put through the dryer. But he had like a skeleton mask that he put on and pulled down, and he had like a sparking thing like a welder uses in his hand. So he would sit there and yell and like do the sparks with the mask. It was fucking awesome. And then Zach Taylor, one of our press guys, was fucking Smeagol from Lord of the Rings. So he basically was naked all day, other than like a little loincloth. It was so good. But and Megan and Maddie are sisters, and they came as stepbrothers. So they had like the curly hair and the sweater vests and stuff.
You mean like Will Ferrell stepbrothers?
Yeah. Everyone was good. Morgan, who's pregnant, painted her belly like ET, and then had like a little bicycle handles with a basket and put the ET in it. But it was a good time. We got together, we had food, we hung out. And then, yeah, other than that, the week was pretty good. A lot of printing being had. We're like kind of slamming right now, so which is good. So, yeah, that's about it. Where are you going?
Good stuff, man.
You getting robbed?
You hear that?
Yeah, you have to get your gun out. That's a lot.
Well, it's rainy, overcast, rainy all day and all night last night. And the fire station, you know how you have the police station across the street from you?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the fire station's one building down, then it's the fire
Oh,
station,
so when they get called, you hear it immediately?
Right.
That's cool.
Yeah, so if we had a fire here, dude, they're going to be here quick.
Right. That's awesome.
That's pretty
They'll
cool.
just let it burn. Yesterday I went to a bonfire at my dad's house. He was having like a cookout and stuff. He always puts on like really good parties and stuff.
I
and,
love that shit. I love bonfire.
He had like
like really.
massive bonfire. Like it was fucking huge.
Like how many feet? Like
I'd say the flames were probably like 30, 40 feet.
oh shit.
Like I posted a video of it to my stories, but you can't get the scale of it because there's like this, it looks like this like chunk of wall, but it's like a full deck that was like on my cousin's house that my dad ripped off. And it's like leaned up against. And it was like a ton of just shit from here, like doing projects and pallets and everything else. But yeah, it was pretty awesome. But it was funny. I got there and I was talking to my dad, shooting the shit or whatever. And he's like, I got a dad joke for you. I was like, all right, cool. Let me hear it. And he told me, and I was like, I need you to text that to me because I need to say it on the show tomorrow because I'm going to forget it. So are you ready? Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, let's go.
It's a
Let's hear it.
Halloween dad joke.
Perfect. Well, when this comes out, geez, I don't even know when this.
He had it
out,
on the ready. So, tomorrow's Halloween for the people listening. Hold on, I gotta clear so I can talk. All right. A guy walks into a Halloween party with a girl on his back. The host asked him, and what are you supposed to be? The guy says, I'm a turtle. The host says, and who's that on your back? And the guy says, that's Michelle.
It's a good one, dude.
Yeah. So I thought I'd bring back the dad joke a little bit.
Well, I think it's appropriate on Halloween. Yeah. Well, this is Devil's Night, actually, because Halloween's tomorrow.
Yeah. Go around and do some toilet paper.
Yeah.
Some
I got lots of rolls and some soap and
nice
firecrackers, you know.
Yeah. The usual.
Yeah. The usual.
Yeah.
God, what a jerk I was to do that. That's such a jerk thing to do.
What? Toilet paper?
I'm sorry. Yeah. For anyone listening that got toilet papered in the 80s, they got TP'd or soaped or whatever, firecrackers in their screen door or mailbox or something like that. I'm sorry. Like, that's a terrible thing to, like, if somebody did that to me right now, I'd be like, what the fuck?
Dude, there's so much shit I did as a kid that if it happened to me, I would fucking murder. Like, straight up.
Yeah. Like, we did shit and then we ran like as fast as we could, you know, to hide. And
I took out a lot of mailboxes. Hypothetically.
That and that
allegedly.
even is like a federal crime, I think.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, you didn't do that.
No, I didn't. I'm just saying it would be funny if I did. or like
Yeah,
burning a
let's-
bridge,
we
or
better-
like
let's move
literally
on.
burning a bridge, or Frank.
I have not talked to him since
did.
Vegas. Oh yeah.
He called me this week a couple times. Just to talk, you know. My shoulder to cry on. He just calls me and tells me all of his woes, and
Bullshit.
you know, we just, you know, have long couple hour chats, really.
Yeah, he called me first, and I said, "Hey, don't forget about Dylan. Call him too. Like you should, you know, because when we talk about you as a sponsor and everything, we're gonna bring you up, and then Dylan's gonna get all butthurt. So just call Dylan." He's like, "No." It's like, "Fuck. Okay, fine."
Don't make me.
No, I didn't talk to him all week. And now I feel like I should call him. Call him tomorrow, maybe on Halloween.
should,
Wish him
yeah.
a happy Halloween. You know, it all starts with a screen, and whether it's new stretches or restretches, Frank and his team do it the best. To find out more, you're going to want to go to graphicscreenfashion.com, FFFFF,
Rank.com.
or
Greatfuckingscreens.com.
definitely.
The best screens there are. Don't fuck around. Get them. That's it.
Period.
Period.
Cleaning screens is no fun, but EasyWay makes it funner. Their line of eco-friendly chemicals will help you keep your screens and your shop clean. Check them out at easyway.com. EasyWay.
It's the easiest way.
For sure.
Yeah. Faux show.
Action Engineering makes all kinds of accessories that printers need. Go check them out at actionengineering.com and level up your...
Shop.
I like it. I like it. That flowed.
Right. It's really seamless.
Yep.
Yeah. I just put in a quote to get a bunch of pallets
Yeah.
because they got the goods.
They do have them. You know, they have pallets for all presses, not just
Yeah.
M&R.
They have like weird specialty pallets, which are really cool too. Like I was telling you, is I needed to order more tapered pallets. I got these hoodie pallets that I use for sleeves that got like 4-inch on one side, 6-inch on the other side, so I can flip them around, use them for shorts or sleeve ends or whatever.
And dude, we so needed the split roller. I don't know if it was I'm pretty sure it was last week because we did a big full zip hoodie order. Couldn't use the roller.
Yeah.
Instead, you know what we did? So you know how we have the squeegee
Just do
with
a
the middle
flattening
cutout?
screen?
Yeah, a flattening screen. Put some bass in there and boom. Not the same though.
Yeah.
Not the same. And so when I saw, I was like, oh, we need to get one of those. And I guess we would just need the roller. Like we don't need the whole package.
No.
You know, you don't need the screen and everything else. Cool. Ready for the next one? It's that time of year when shops are super busy and the art department is in overtime. OT, if you want to shorten it. But look, all you've got to do is go to 1-900-HOTStuff.com and get in touch with Nick or Lucas, and they will take your hand and place it in their hand, and
That seems
then
creepy.
they will get you safely across that busy street.
That sounds so nice of them.
I know, like it's, you know, they're looking out for you, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
You're safe.
All right.
Okay.
Good
That's
guys. Yeah.
That's that. Are you ready for the next one? Yeah, one more.
I'm so ready.
Choosing the right emulsion for your shop is complicated, and that's why we love Chromaline. You've got questions, they've got answers. Call our bud Kev or go to chromaline.com and watch his videos and learn.
From the master.
Yeah, learn from the master.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, the guru.
That's better.
Yeah.
He's the best.
Did you hear that drum beat?
Dude, it was so sick. Yeah.
It's just in me, those beats.
Yeah. I bet you would put beats in you, you fucking creepy weirdo.
That's a stretch.
I bet it was a stretch getting him in there.
Yeah. You know, I bought donuts today. I just remembered.
Fresh ones?
I mean, no. Yes and no. Yes, they're not stale, but they were not fresh.
Where are they
I don't
from?
think they were made today.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, it was their Entenmann's. But I was there.
Those are so
and
good.
they were pretty good. You know what flavor?
Like the variety pack?
That's good, but no, I bought they are all the same.
They're fucking plain, aren't they?
Fucking no. Just no.
Chocolate covered?
Nope.
Cinnamon sugar?
You're not going to guess because well, maybe you would. It's this time. What would you?
Apple cinnamon?
Ooh, really close. Subtract the cinnamon, although there was probably some in there.
Apple
cider.
Okay.
Yeah, doesn't that sound good?
Yeah, it's pretty good, I guess.
It was pretty good. What do you mean I guess? Don't say I guess.
I'm a cinnamon sugar guy for sure. Powdered cinnamon sugar. Not the crisp, not the like sugar granule cinnamon sugar ones. Like powdered sugar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, powdered cinnamon sugar.
Fine sugar. Fine powder. And do you know that the apple cider donuts were glazed? Like they had a glaze over them. So you might have liked that.
Were they good though? Do you dip them in cider? Because what you should do is just get a regular plain donut fresh from the mill and then dip it in apple cider.
Yeah. That does sound good. Didn't have any of that though, but we did warm them up a little. Jojo had 2. I know.
You cut her off after that,
I was
right?
I was like, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's cool.
They're really good. And that's exciting news. I thought I should.
Yeah,
I'm glad I mentioned.
For
sure. We talked about that. So, you know who we're talking to today?
No, who are we talking to?
We have the pleasure of chatting with Dom, or I guess Dominic is the formal name, Dominic. And he is from Superior Inc. in Denver, Colorado, which is right next door to South Park.
That's cool, man.
It is cool.
Yeah. I like them. I like what they do.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Me too.
I'm glad they came on our show.
Yeah. They have a neat shop.
Mm-hmm. They're real neato.
What are you drinking?
This Gold Peak, this delicious Gold Peak. Will you fucking sponsor me, please? So I can stop buying these cases.
What would it take to sponsor you?
Just give me cases of tea so I don't have to buy them.
Yeah. Like I said the same thing about coffee. Somebody just, although just, I'm off the coffee kind of.
Off the coffee?
Yeah. I'm kind of off the coffee.
Wow. You're going hard.
Yeah. Not cold turkey. I'm just sort of less coffee.
Oh, why?
Because my eye was twitching.
And you were afraid it was due to caffeine?
I Googled it and they're like, either you need more sleep, you need to get off the caffeine, or you have a tumor.
Yeah, they always go. I was waiting for that hard one because it's always like you could be like, my foot hurts, and Google it, and it's like, oh, you have like asshole cancer. And it's like, what? How do you come to this conclusion?
And then you say, oh shit, and then you turn it off, and you're like, God, I hope it's not asshole cancer.
Seriously.
And so I'm off. I'm just less caffeine. It's not like I was a lot of caffeine. Just less. So, and basically I was a cup of coffee, and I'm like a half a cup of coffee, or not even.
I was having a long talk with my dad yesterday. We were sitting around the campfire. Well, most of the people had left, and we were just talking. And he gets these like I don't know exactly what they are, but they're these shots in his spine, at the base of his spine, because we both have the same bullshit. We both
sciatic
have, like, stuff, and like degenerative spine, like our cartilage and all that stuff is like gone. And he gets these shots like once every 3 months, and he's like, it's the fucking best thing ever. He's like, pain is gone for like 3 months, and then you go back in and they give you another shot, and it lasts like 3 months, whatever. He's like, it's 100% worth it. I was like, dude, I don't know, I fucking hate needles. He's like, you don't even feel it. He's like, they numb it a bunch of, and then they just stick this big ass needle in, and then he's like, you go home and you're like, wow, I feel like a new man. And I'm like, oh, I want that so bad.
Yeah, me too. We both had that going on.
Yeah.
Well, mine is probably different for different reasons.
Hmm.
But it's same still. It's like it sucks.
I've had
right?
it like 100% of the time for like the last like I don't know 5 years.
Wow.
It just sucks. I can't never be comfortable.
Yeah. Do you have how they have those balls you can sit on?
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever try that?
It's not my thing.
All right. Well, let's see.
I can't laugh. I sound so wheezy right now. That's what you sound like. Look at that. In costume and everything. Are these your normal Sunday clothes? Sunday digs?
Yeah, why? What do you mean?
No, it just looks good. You look comfy.
Yeah, this is what I wear.
Okay, cool.
You know, I just like to feel like I'm in large and in charge.
Right.
Like a captain of a ship.
Me too. I just large though.
Yeah. I just went to the gas station to get chapstick.
Smart.
And I saw this
As one
pigeon
does.
get like murdered in front of the door.
How?
I don't know. Like, I don't know if somebody just, I don't know what happened, but he was flapping around, and so it was really uncomfortable. And I was already scared to go to that gas station, bro, because I've probably been there 15 or 20 times, and it's never been anything less than horrific. Like, either somebody's getting pepper sprayed, or I feel like I'm going to have to get in a fight, which I've never been in. So I was just over here sitting in the nerve cave after all that just happened. But
So what happened to the bird though?
I don't know. I just left, bro. I didn't know what to really like do. The dude came out from the gas station and was like going to deal with it, I think. So I was like, fuck, I'm sorry, bird. I got a podcast thing to do.
He just PD'd it and ripped its head off and then duct taped it back on.
Yeah, he might have done that.
That's cool.
Anyway.
What else is going on this weekend for you?
Not a whole lot, dude. Went to Cherry Creek Reservoir yesterday with my daughter and did some fishing.
It's awesome.
No catching. But, you know, the water levels are super low here. Now it's getting to be winter, so.
Isn't your daughter like 2?
Yeah. Yeah.
But she's got her own like rod and the whole deal, like a bobber.
No, bro. She's just, all she is a challenge to fish with, but she loves it. You know, like when we actually catch one, she's hyped. But other than that, I'm like reeling, looking over my shoulder, like just uber distracted. But you got to teach her young, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We used to have those little fishing rods. I can't remember what they were called. They had the little push button. I don't know. They're maybe like a foot long.
Yeah.
And my dad used to just put a bobber on it. So I could just like cast it out and bring it back.
No hook.
No hook. Because I would totally
Like, why
have
do I
hooked
never
myself.
catch anything?
Yeah. I totally would have like hooked my cheek or something. How's the shop? Do you guys ever print on the weekends or anything? Or just, are you guys busy right now?
We are busy. Yeah, we're super busy. We don't usually print on weekends unless we're, you know, running overtime, which we're not at that point. But July and August was worrisome for me. It's usually our best months. We were pretty slow, but we've seen an uptick the last 2 months. I was worried. I was a little worried about recession, dude.
Dude, me too.
You know,
Yeah, me
Yeah.
three.
every time we get slow, that's like the first thing I think about. And but fortunately right now, yeah, we're smashing. We're back to full capacity right now.
That's how we were all year. And I kept telling Andy, I'm like, dude, I don't know what the fuck is going on. Because like he's like, yeah, I'm busy. And some other people I talked to are busy. And then some friends are calling me. They're like, yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. Like I've been like a week out all year long. And I'm like, we're good. Like everything's good. It's just like, I don't know if we're just more efficient this year or if it was like you said, like possible recession or people just not ordering as much. But it was just like, what the hell is going on? And then all of a sudden, like, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, it just got like really busy again. I was like, that's cool.
Yeah, I think for us it was partly that too. Dylan was just being more efficient, putting more stuff through the doors. Like we're up over last year, and last year did good. So
Right, that's the same
it's a
thing.
good sign.
Last year, well, I think the problem was that last year we were all busy as fuck. We were like, I don't know, like 4 weeks out or whatever, and then I put some stuff in place, and now this year I'm like, you know, as an owner, you're like, what the hell's going on? But realistically, you're probably just getting more stuff done.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Andy? Do you feel a slowdown at all?
Sorry, I just sneezed. I muted it because I sneezed. And whenever I sneeze, a little bit about me is I sneeze like 9 more times. So I might have 9 more coming for you guys. Let's see. So yeah, we were sort of like that. I mean, I think there was a lull in, late July and August where we were like, oh shit, is it the recession? Is it something else? Like, did somebody take all of our customers? Are our prices too high? All this stuff, because we had a little price increase because of the old inflation thing. And then all of a sudden it came. So it was only a few weeks for us, and then it came. So I think every month, we just started, we're closing out our 10th month, and 8 of the 10 we're up over last year. There's just 2 that missed and they're missed just by a little bit. So we're up over on the year. And that's usually what I look at, but I know what you mean, Dylan, because you kind of base it off of feel too sometimes. Like, wait, it doesn't feel as busy. What's going on? And and when it's when you're more efficient and you're which is a good thing, and you're just crushing and getting jobs out the door faster, it's hard to tell, isn't it?
What do you guys do generally? Like, I know what I do, but what do you do when it starts to feel like that? Like, what's your first instinct? Like,
Cry.
Well, I knew that would be your answer, but Dom seems a little stronger than you. Do you like go into marketing mode? Because I know, Dom, you've been going pretty hard with like audio or like video stuff.
Yeah, man, you're killing it.
So like, do you guys go more into like, let's dive deep into marketing and everything? Because I know I had meetings with Kevin Baumgart this year to like try to do more outbound.
We do. Yeah, I get frantic, dude. I like pull every trick to try to get clients, but it's not new clients. It's more like approaching and trying to get more business from like some of our better clients. It's weird, dude. Like, we don't do outbound sales, and the reason that we don't is because normally we're in a position where we can't take on more work. So it's unique, like the 1 or 2 months out of the year that we do slow down, because it's like I feel like it's over. I'm like, dude, we're going out of business. That's just like the feeling that I get. So I just do everything that I can. Yeah, I pretty much have all of our CSRs reach out to their best clients and just kind of be the squeaky wheel. Yeah. And then normally what happens is they do that, and then we get this influx of work, and I'm like, fuck, I just want it to slow down. It's just, it's never like the perfect level. You know what I mean?
Problem is that like, I feel the same way, like exactly the way you just described it. But I feel like if I don't plant seeds when we're busy, it's just going to keep being like busy to slow. Like, I'd rather just be like steady all year long. So that's why I was like, well, fuck, like the last couple of years, we've just like leveled up the shop as much as possible, like efficiencies, tools, all the newest, whatever we can do equipment wise. So it's like, I feel like the shop is good. Like, the shop is totally good, can handle everything. If anything, I feel like they're just like milking jobs at this point, because they could probably do them way faster than they're doing them, because they have what they need to do that. So like the sales, I say sales, but like you said, it's mostly customer service people just doing inbound. I was like, we could probably handle doing outbound, because the same thing, we never do it. We just always take what comes in. But I just kind of want to be like, all right, out of an 8-hour day, let's do 6 hours inbound, 2 hours outbound. That way there's like some steady, like looking for new work, to where when it slows down, we have, a new customer came in. I don't know. I just don't know if that's the right approach. It's something like, especially with shirt show stuff, like I usually end up talking about something a bunch of episodes, and then I finally like figure it out and get people's input. But at first I thought like, oh, let's have our customer service people do it. And now I'm thinking more like hiring someone separately, or maybe like a VA to just do outbound. And then when they get that client's response, give it to our inbound people. So they're just doing our normal inbound.
Are you doing that to grow or sustain? Like you're just trying to, because do you want to be bigger? Do you want to be printing more volume, or do you like where you're at? You know,
I don't think I need to grow staff wise or equipment wise. I think I just need to like fill, like we could do more than what we're doing. You know what I mean? Like I don't need to add anything. I just feel like it's like casual Friday every day. I feel like we're just like,
that's nice though.
It is nice. I'm just saying, like, there's times when it slows down, like Dom said, and they feel like, oh, fuck, we're going to have to sell the shop. I'd rather never have that feeling and just be like, oh, we're like booked.
Well, one thing for us that Ryan happened to do was like evaluate our customers. And it all started from an approval process, you know, like approvals are just the bane of our existence. It just slows everything down. And so I started saying like, we're just going to eliminate approvals, and if somebody wants one, like a press proof, we have an iPhone that production uses and they proof every single job. And it's just, it sucks. Like, unless it's like one of our contract customers that gets it, it takes forever. And so I said, we're just going to stop doing it. If they will put more time into our digital mocks and like build a tech pack, almost like you're sending shit overseas. It's got to be that thorough. And then if somebody wants a press proof, we'll charge them $50 unless it's like an A customer. So we had to define who our A customers were. And so Ryan was going through it and he's like, bro, you don't have a whale. I was like, what do you mean? Like we do have whales that send us a lot of business. And he's like, no, like your biggest client, you know, which is Meow Wolf, they'd send us, it's less than 10%, which I think is good. But what was interesting is the clients that I thought were like good clients were like 0.9% of our revenue. And so we have this like 400 client list, and I'd say like 70% of them are less than 2% of our revenue. And so for the ones that are in like the 3% to 10% range, we just started like seeing if there's more capacity for them to bring things over, or just have an exclusive deal to where we're their only printer.
Right.
And I've just never really like had success with outbound sales and a cold lead from scratch and a script. And then you have like this whole commission thing, and then there's like competition versus just being reactive. And
right.
We've been fortunate enough to get a lot of reactive business and double down on like clients that are good clients.
Well, have you tried to do any of the like exclusive stuff? Like, what are you offering them to be exclusive, I guess?
It's pretty much just like begging a little bit.
Like, please only use us.
Yeah. It's just like, well, what do we got to do? You know, like, you know, what do we need to do to just be your only source, like geographically, right. You know? And then there's conversation around that. And sometimes it's like pricing based, but mostly it's around like, well, can you handle more volume? And yes, we can. And then, you know, hopefully they turn it on, but
right.
But yeah, outbound sales is weird for me. It just feels gross.
Same here. We've never done it. You know, we just tried to, our growth all came from our marketing, social media marketing. And then I would say most of it just from doing a good fucking job, you know, always. Yeah. And when it goes wrong, fix it, do an even better job. And that's like the long game though, you know? So there's definitely ways to do it faster, but that's always how it's been for us.
Yeah. I mean, we all started, like when I first started, that's all we had to do was outbound because we didn't have any customers yet. You know what I mean? It was just like reaching out to people. But I feel like our thing has always been like, we know a certain market and we kind of just try to find new people in that same market. It's not like I'm reaching out to randos. It's like, okay, we know the brewery market, or we know the comic book store or whatever. It's like, reach out to those people and say, hey, we work with this person, as you know, as far as like if you're looking for referrals, but we would like to do stuff for you too. Like your designs and what you want as a print aligns with what we already do. So if you don't have a good printer or you don't have a good relationship, we'd love to like talk to you more. I feel like that would be the approach where I wouldn't feel skeezy and weird. I would be like, hey, let's start a conversation.
Yeah. Well, and it's also like staying in your lane too. Like, what is your niche? And
Right.
That's where like it kind of segues into the sustainability. We just really haven't had to. We attract a lot of people because of that, just like maybe Culture Studios does in the music world. It's like they're in that environment, so it's just referral based, and they stay like successful within one industry. And I think that's where we've carved out in the sustainable world, because people, especially in Colorado, like that's what they seek out, a lot of the people that we work with.
Yeah. How did that all come about for you? Like, what made you want to go as sustainable as possible?
So in 2015, and remind me, dude, I've told my story of how I got into screen printing, but I was sitting in the sauna the other day and I thought of like an even deeper story, like when I was young that I want to tell.
Yeah, tell it.
But as far as sustainability, I read the book Traction in like 2015, which is super dope. And it was like in this phase where I was like, man, I just feel like I don't have that much purpose. You know, like my business doesn't have that much purpose. Everybody says like we're just all about quality, and I just wanted something deeper.
Yeah.
And it was like kind of in the phase of like just watching Nat Geo and being a young kid and traveling quite a bit for work, like just wanting to make a difference. And I was like trying to figure out like, where's my impact? You know, like, do I give a fuck about people? Do I care about like these causes with animals? You know, I care about animals. And then I started realizing like, if we don't have a healthy planet, then none of that shit matters. So that's where my focus is. And it was an ego check too, because it's like, I'm not going to make a fucking difference. Like, I don't have an education. I need to just stay within my domain of competence, stay in my lane, and try to do as much as I possibly can with the knowledge that I have, which is in the apparel business, which just so happens to be one of, you know, the second most polluting industry in the world. So I'm like, that's a good start. Mm-hmm. And then in 2016, that's when Ryan kind of pitched me on Allmade, and we took our first trip to Haiti. So it was like, I was already kind of trying to figure out ways to do that. I was trying to like recycle squeegees and do this, like, I just couldn't figure out how to get started in it. And then Allmade just completely shifted like everything for me, just in terms of the direction, understanding like things behind closed doors, why our industry's fucked up.
Right.
So it's like way beyond just developing like Allmade and learning that brand. It was also just getting educated on why our industry has a bad rap.
When you went and did the Allmade thing, was there any like factory or anything you went to see like how the shirt would be made, or how any of that, was that a thing in the beginning, or was it more just brainstorming about how to make the line?
Well, the first trip Ryan vetted with his family, and then he met Joe Knitting from Go. I said Go, which is GoX. They're a church-based organization, and they actually had boots on the ground in Haiti. They had a factory that they were starting called Life. It's an acronym for Love is Forever. And so that's where we first started developing Allmade. And I met Jeff Blatt, who was with Hanes for 30 years, and he's just this white dude that's lived in Haiti for 30 plus years, which is just crazy to me. I wrote this whole story about him because he was so inspiring. But yeah, so we went down, and really like the Allmade developed for like a better product, but really people centric, you know, and then the planet was like secondary. Like our main focus was just like paying higher wages.
Right.
Because that was such an issue. But yeah, I mean, it definitely opened my eyes, and that's like something we can kind of get into.
Yeah, because I mean, I had, you know, been in this industry for however long, and you know, like I said, you get a box of shirts, and you're like, you don't really think about it. You're just like, oh, I got shirts, and you print them and do your job, and you get it out the door, and then the stress of that is gone. You don't really think exactly what goes into making the apparel that you got in that box. So recently, like I got on the Gildan board, and I went and did the whole trip to like North Carolina to see like the yarn being made, and then the yarn going from there to Honduras, and then seeing the factories and everything there. So I know for me personally, it changed my mind on like how how much stuff goes into making a shirt. And then I see like, you know, I don't know, all the processes and everything. And then you see like the end product and you're like, okay, this shirt costs like $4. And it's like, holy shit. Like,
yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a big topic for me because the reality is, and I know that there's a lot of questions too of like, how are we sustainable? And there's a lot, dude, there's a lot that we've gone into and I want to touch on it. But the number one piece, dude, is like, as a screen printer, there's only so much you can do.
right.
You know, there really is. Like the impact is like on the manufacturing and how the cotton is grown and harvested and what goes into that plant. But more importantly, it's the lifestyle cycle of the shirt. Like the most sustainable shirt is one that's going to last the longest and not ultimately end up in the landfills.
Right.
That's where I think Superior Ink focuses most of our energy at just educating clients on, you know, why to go with organic cotton over conventional cotton. You know, like what is the data and the difference if you're producing X amount of shirts and you go with a greener alternative. But then also like that's one of the things that we learned in Haiti too, man, is like we experienced it firsthand because in Western America is like you're donating stuff to Goodwill and feeling good about it, but really it's, I don't know what the exact number is, but it's probably less than 10% actually goes to resale and gets back into the supply chain. And then how long does that shirt last? But you know, we would have organizations like churches in Haiti that would accept all these semis full of discarded clothing. And it's like, bro, they don't fucking want that.
Right.
You know, like one, it messes with their commerce there because if you have a business owner that's trying to produce apparel and sell apparel, and then you just get all this America secondhand clothing dumped off, it's gonna end up like
dilutes the market.
Bro, yeah, it dilutes the market and it's like disgusting, bro. Like we shot a documentary there and there's this, we call it like the Walmart of Haiti, but it's just mounds. Like as far as you can see, it's just mounds of apparel. And then there's a road that splits like stuff that they're trying to salvage and resell. And then just an absolute shitstorm river of trash and fabric scrap that's like literally going ocean bound. And so it's a fine line, you know, it's like, that's what we don't realize. And that's why our industry is such a problem for like sustainability and pollution. Is because like that's the philosophy of our industry as printers and as fast fashion is like produce as much as you can to drive the cost down. It's a volume game, you know, like even us, we have minimums in place. It's like we're trying to get customers to do more volume,
Right.
so that they can get the price down. And it's just such a fucked up philosophy. And that's why I say like if you want to be the most sustainable printer, like don't produce anything. But that's not realistic either, you know. It's just you need to be aware of like sourcing things sustainably, having like the right practices in place with your organization, and then quality products that aren't going to get discarded right away. I mean, those are the three pillars that I see. But not to take the weight off print shops, but making a difference is not necessarily like printing plastisol versus water-based or using the right chemicals. It goes far. It makes a difference, but that's our number one thing, is educating customers on going with more sustainable options. And there's not many out there. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You know?
That makes a ton of sense. Like I never really thought about it that way, that, you know, I know we think about the ink and what we're doing in the shop and everything, but like you said, if you can get somebody a really cool shirt, like you said, like an organic cotton shirt, a nice shirt that lasts, that's actually soft and fitting and makes them want to wear it more, then they would wear that shirt more often and get more life out of it, and they wouldn't need to buy 4 other shirts to replace that shirt. They would just have like their favorite shirt they wear all the time. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And I was thinking about it too, man. Like I was listening to the show you guys did with Jared, and you had a really good point too. It's like trying to upsell a customer on a better quality garment so it lasts longer. And I started thinking about that because you said like, well, what if your customer just wants the cheapest thing? And I started thinking like, if we deal with that, and we don't at all. Like we don't offer Gildan, Hanes, or Fruit of the Loom because one, we want people to have better alternatives. We want to have better products, but also like our customer base is never ever asking like, I want the cheapest thing.
Right.
We've just attracted a different demographic, and I'm super fortunate about that. But like we're pushing AS Color, we're pushing Allmade, you know, like, and that's the frustrating thing is, aside from like a small handful of companies, like there's not many sustainable garment options, at least not anything to write home about.
What necessarily makes a sustainable garment option for you? Like, is it using specific cotton, or is it?
So there's a couple of things, man. Like that's one thing that we learned with Allmade too, is we had the tri-blend, which is, you know, the recycled bottles, the Reprieve, Modal, and organic cotton. And as we started like talking to more like oceanic and biological, or like marine biologists, like we'd notice that like people loved the story of Allmade, but real like climate activists were like, we don't want recycled, even if it's recycled, like we don't want that in our garments because of the issue with microplastics. So for sure, like a tri-blend that's made with recycled plastic bottles is better than virgin polyester 100%, but it's still not solving the problem. Like that's all going back into the oceans, it's going back into us. And so like we found that organic cotton is probably one of the best, most sustainable garments because it uses less water, doesn't use chemicals, pesticides, and
So more just 100% organic cotton tee is kind of the best option you could sell.
Yeah. And so to touch on, like, again, I want to touch on what we do to be sustainable and like entry level stuff. And then if you're like going all in, like full bore, want to be sustainable shop, what to do as well. But I would say like for me, it's pushing apparel like manufacturers to fucking do better, man. Like even AS Color, I love AS Color so much. That's like one of the brands that we push the most. But yeah, I talked to our rep and I'm like, dude, your organic cotton sucks. There's 3 colors to choose from. I didn't sell them. It sucks.
It doesn't make it very appealing for somebody to try to sell because it only has 3 options.
Yeah. And they're a premium luxury brand, but like, and they have like GOTS certified organic cotton. So the organic cotton that they have is wonderful, but it's bogus that there's only 3 colors to choose from, because if 70% of our customers, their primary focus is being sustainable, that really like constrains us on what options we have available. It's like Allmade, AS Color, District Re-Tee, which District Re-Tee is already private labeled. Castlefell is a great option, but they're private labeled. So if anybody wants to rebrand, like you just shrink down this pool of like available options.
What was their reasoning for only having 3 colors? Just not popular enough, or
it's just like, it's just not there, man. Like I was thinking about it too. Like, I had a conversation with Gildan like in 2015, maybe 2016. And he was saying, man, we tried to do this push for sustainability and it sat on the shelves. Like it didn't move. People just weren't into it. And I think it's weird because like right around the time we started Allmade, people were like really into the environment, dude. There was that whole thing like banning plastic straws from Starbucks, and there wasn't this like social justice. Like there's all these different movements which agree or disagree. It's like people only care about the planet when there's nothing else like that's like elevated, and which I find is interesting. And so people have kind of like, back to the Gildan thing, I just thought that was interesting that they said that they made this effort to go sustainable and it all sat on the shelves, because when it's time to take out the checkbook, that's like people are all about sustainability until they have to pay more. But the thing with Gildan, man, or like any brand that's been a pillar of our industry that's all of a sudden trying to go sustainable, is like, it's a weird thing. It's that not a lot of people like support for whatever reason. Because they've done things the same way for so long. It's like, why are you just now coming around? You should support it, but it's.
I mean, I think it's challenging. I think that I'm trying to think of some of our customers, because I think our customer pool is much different than yours. You've set yourself up for like you said earlier, people seek you out for sustainability, but our customer base is. I mean, maybe there's a few of those in there, but like say for a school, for example, that's a public school that's on a budget and they need 1,000 shirts, and they only have X amount of dollars to spend. And I presented them and I said, okay, well, cool. We have this shirt, here it is. And we have this shirt, here it is. And this shirt's $2 more, you know? And so you can't get 1,000. You can only get, you know, however many. They're going to pick the one where they can get a shirt for every student. You know what I mean? And so I don't know, I guess the challenge is to get the organic shirt at the same price. Because of course you'd make that, you know, if you have two shirts, one is organic and one isn't, of course you choose the organic cotton or the more sustainable shirt.
As long as it's not like $5 more than the other one.
Yeah, or even any amount more, because the problem is if you're not just buying one. So if it was a quarter, you'd be like, oh, cool. Who cares about a quarter? But a quarter times 1,000 adds up, you know? And so I'm just saying, like, how do you get that cost down?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's a valid point. That was one of the challenges with Allmade is like, how are we going to market this? How are we going to bring this to market and have it double the price of a Bella canvas? It just doesn't make sense. And there's a lot of like depth to that. And I sympathize with that too for shops that are trying to go more sustainable, but it's just like that conversation with the client is just not ever going to happen. I mean, I feel super fortunate that we have people that totally get it and don't question it.
I feel like a lot of it is the education though. Like if you were to say like what we're talking about right now and going through the whole thing with like the organic cotton and all this stuff and talking about these, whatever it was there, you were saying like piles and piles of shirts on one side and the other side and everything. I feel like if more and more people knew that, then they'd be more likely to spend the extra money. Even if it was a quarter, they'd be like, well, I would rather spend this much money more and make sure that my shirt doesn't end up in that pile. They would probably do it. It's just hard to put that out there if you're in the industry.
Agree. I think that's where it is. It's like 4 years of me just like preaching this shit like gospel because it matters to me.
Right.
And so then now the CSRs and all of our people here adopt that same mentality, and they're in the same position where we're just like educating the fuck out of people. Like, this is choice A, this is choice B, and really choice C doesn't exist for us. And now we kind of are in that position of like, we don't really fuck with these brands. Like, this is these are the best options for you. And we've just told that story so many times that it's easy for us to do that now.
I just know from like going to like I've done one trip with them and like I've seen what I've seen. I haven't like fully dove into everything yet, but just going to Gildan was kind of like I don't know, like going to Honduras, it was kind of like, you know, you get the vibes of like Honduras is going to be, you know, kind of, it's a third world country, and you get there and you're like, oh dude, this area seems sketchy, and you see like houses made out of like roofing materials, and it's like, and then you get to Gildan and it's like they have this beautiful like compound. You go in there and you see all these employees, and it's like they have, you know, food and healthcare and transportation, and they're safe in the area and everything they're doing. And then, you know, you go through and you see all the stuff and how they do it and everything. And to me, it was more like the manufacturing, like seeing how they make everything. And I was like, holy shit, that's cool. Like, this is cool. And then the end of kind of the tour, they show us the biomass and the biotop and stuff, where they're like, oh, wait, the biomass is like, they're trying to recycle as much stuff. I don't know if recycle is the best word, but like use all the fabric scraps, the cones, the everything, like paper and boxes and extra everything. And then on top of that, they go to all these farms in Honduras and get like all their scraps of stuff, like it was something to do with coffee and then like other plants that normally the farmers would throw in the landfill. And then that creates like methane or whatever. But instead of that, they take it to Gildan and then they burn it in the things to make like steam, which they use to like dye the fabric and everything else. So it's kind of cool to see all that. And then the biotop was like water, all the water from dyeing and everything they put into these ponds, and it kind of like trickles down into these other things, and the water comes out cleaner than it came in. I don't know if that's like a thing that like all of these companies are trying to do or whatever, but like I just saw that and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like I respect that like they're doing something. But I also know that like from meetings with them of being like something stupid where you're like, make the pocket on this tee a little bit bigger. It's not as simple as that. It's like, dude, this is a massive fucking ship. Like one little change takes like a long time to like get out there, because there's like millions and millions of garments that have to get changed, lines of manufacturing that have to get changed, all this other stuff. So I feel like it's companies like that are, even if back when the Starbucks straws and all the other stuff, like they might have gotten an idea of like, oh yeah, we should probably do something, but I feel like it just takes a really long time to like put that all into play to like make things as better and good as possible to like go forward. But again, like I said, I think it's an education thing. I think it's like people just need to hear like what brands are doing what to make a difference or try to like make a more sustainable item. I just don't know. Like me personally, like I don't want to act like I know. Like you're teaching me right now on certain things with certain garments. So
well, I'm glad to hear that Gildan has all that like integrated in their manufacturing. I mean, that's similar to Elcotex, where, you know, now Allmade is produced in Honduras as well. Similar, you know, King Grass Farm, they burn that methane, so they have a 1 million square foot facility that's essentially running on net power.
right.
And that's a cool story. So like even that, knowing that District is made there, knowing that Port Authority is made there, they're not necessarily sustainable brands, but at least I have comfort in knowing like I know where this stuff is manufactured, and I can kind of like vet it to a sense. Is there a reason why, you know, with you being on the board with Gildan, is there a reason why they don't really have much of sustainable options in their lineup? I mean, have you guys touched on that? Is that of interest to them? Because I know like I
can ask
like,
for sure. I mean, like I said, we did one trip and it was just kind of like, here's an introduction into like what we do. I know like new lines and stuff they're coming out with, they're trying to do some stuff I think sustainable, but like I don't know. I would love to ask them and talk to them about it, because that's the whole point of the board, is to push them in new directions. Because their problem is that most of them are faced with like, they're dealing with like the big, you know, like the wholesalers and stuff that were like, oh, we need this. They don't hear a lot from the end printer like us. So that's why they started the board, was to just be like, tell us how you feel and like what you want changed and what you see is important in the industry. So I don't know. I feel like it's pretty cool for them to try to like open it up and like hear us out. So
yeah, I think
I would ask
dude.
for sure.
I think they need that. And like it's a bummer that it put a bad taste in their mouth, I think, to like go this sustainable initiative and have it not sell. And to back it up for a minute, like I know we didn't do like that much introductions and stuff, but I want to let you guys know that I'm good at 2 things in life. Okay. One is picking ripe fruit, dude. I'm fucking really good at it. It's just something that I was born with. And 2 is analogies. So I just wanted to preface that, because I'm gonna be dropping some analogies on you today for sure.
Okay.
Right. Which so ripe fruit? Can you remember the first ripe fruit you picked?
It was probably like in the peach or plum family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's where it all started. But like as far as which kind, dude, any kind that you want, bro.
He just has an eye for like the perfect fruit.
Yeah, and you'll like, you know, there's times where it's not achievable, you know, if they're off season or whatever. But like if they're in season, or if there's just a couple, like it's not in season, but there's a couple, I'll sniff those fuckers out 100%. Like
you that
I'm
guy at like
on a date. That's like
you that guy at the grocery store like knocking on melons and shit.
I don't even do that, bro. I don't even use those mystical like tactics. That's some bullshit. It's in your
What's
heart.
your so what's a tactic with, let's say, a green pepper?
This conversation just took such a hard turn.
Well, here's the thing. Like I love my green peppers, or any pepper, but I can tell at the store, like you sort of said, you know, when they're getting sad, let's say, tired.
Yeah.
And you know, you're like oh
green,
shit.
I would say color for sure. You know, you got that deep green. I'm not like a big pepper fan, so I'm not picking peppers all the time like Peter Piper. But
not Peter Piper.
I would say color would be my first instinct, and then feel. You know, if that fucker's too hard or too soft. Some of the basic knowledge that most civilians have, like you can apply to my skill. But
I'm the worst. I feel like now that this is a topic, like I'm not good at this at all. Like I'll be like, oh man, I really want peaches, and I go get peaches, and I bring them home. They're hard as fuck. And then the next time I try to go eat them, they're like mush.
Well, sometimes it's your preference though. Like, do you like a banana that's kind of green?
Dude,
or do you
that's
like
a sore
banana...
subject in my shop. Because I like green bananas, like straight up, like not crunchy, but like a fresh ass like green banana, and everyone here is like, that is
Damn.
gross as fuck.
That's fucked up.
Right.
Yeah, that's fuck. I don't like that, Dylan.
They taste kind of pasty.
Yeah, I like it to be like it leaves a film on my mouth because it's so fresh.
Well, do you guys want to hear an analogy?
Yes.
Okay. Then I'll kill two with one, because I'll tell you my first encounter with plastisol ink in 4th grade, and I'll drop an analogy on you.
Okay.
Usually I just wing these. That's why like my team would disagree. They're like, he's the worst fucking analogy guy ever. But this one I kind of thought through a little bit. So when I was in 4th grade, we were doing volleyball. Like we were getting taught volleyball, and the 5th grade girls volleyball team was helping kind of like show us some pointers. And the day before, we were practicing like these skid slides, like where you like slide on your belly and do like a save. I don't know the terminology of volleyball, but the coach was like, "You're the best fucking slide saver I've probably ever seen." Like if we had
In
a
my
plaque
life,
for it,
you were
I'd
the
give
best.
100%.
Yeah.
He probably told his wife about it later that night.
Mm-hmm.
It was so good. Anyways, so the girls are, trying to give examples of a slide save, and the coach was like, "Hold on, this kid Dom over here is really good at it. Why don't you display?" And bro, like that was my moment. Like I wanted to get every one of those girls' numbers. They're older, a grade older. It's already so intimidating. So I was like, this is my opportunity. The day before, I was wearing a blank shirt. This day I was wearing some fucking Billabong shirt.
Oh,
with
you
a
fucked
big old
up.
sweat patch.
You
And so I go full speed, dude.
insta
And
stop.
here's my analogy. Like if you had like Sprayway web mist meets Elmer's glue, and it like sat in the sun for a day, and then you stuck a piece of gum on it, I was the fucking gum, bro. That's how hard I stuck to this damn floor. And then analogy 2, bro, is the sound that my body made when I freaking hit the floor like that was like if Hulk Hogan was flexing super hard, but instead of his like man roar, it was like a 70-year-old weathered and like winded pterodactyl.
You're right. You are really good at analogies.
So I was like, after that moment, I was like, man, when I grow up, I'm gonna make sure that no kid has to experience what I went through, and we're changing how Prince feel. I ain't wearing a thick ass shirt like that ever again.
Scarred you for life.
So that was my first encounter of trying to.
So what you're saying
Prince
is
better.
you didn't get any numbers from these 5th grade girls.
Not a one, dude. Not even close.
Right.
No chance.
Super wind knocked out of you when you hit the ground.
Oh, dude, I just like 4th grade. You're pretty young, dude. It's hard to remember things. That stuck with me for sure. That was a pretty embarrassing day.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, so you care zero about the environment. It's more about just being humiliated.
Right. It was that one moment, that fucking Billabong shirt.
Fucking dope.
All right, so we talked about t-shirts, and I know you said earlier that, yes, you can do things at your shop to be sustainable, but it's more about the shirt because that's on a larger scale that can do more, that can have more result or a greater impact, let's say. But at your shop, even the little things can help. And so we've done some things here, and we could do so much more. So this is why it's great that you're on. So like we've done this.
Take it off.
There we go.
But dude, yeah, it's hot as shit in here. Keep going. I'm listening.
It was the astronaut suit. It was a space suit. So we've done a couple of things. We have LED lighting. We did it because, well, it's better lighting, and also it's less expensive and it's better for the environment. That's cool. We have the Eco Rinse, which reuses water all week long, and so while we're developing screens, we get to use the same water. Yeah, there's some added water to it on a final rinse, but for the most part, we're not just putting water down the drain. So we've done little things like that. I want to reduce waste. I want to have larger frame sizes so I don't have to use tape ever. And so we only have one press left that is cannot use a 25 by 36 like this guy right here. So we have two presses that can accommodate this and one press that cannot. And so I want to finally convert to a larger frame size. We don't have to use tape, things like that. But what other, so those are the three things that like I know of.
Give us Dom's top 10 things you can do.
Or top 3 even.
I want top 24 things that you can do to...
Well, dude, that is the way to look at it. Like there's the low-hanging fruit, the stuff that's accessible, that's not going to break your bank, that like you can start implementing today, all the way up to like pledging a certain percentage of your revenue and everything in between. And like I just want to say too, dude, like I am in no way like claiming master of sustainability. We're learning every day. Like I there's probably so much shit that we can improve on, and I think it's really just really genuinely giving a shit, and then also championing for your team to give a shit too, because it's like if I just care about doing things but the rest of the team it doesn't matter to
getting them to buy in,
very successful. Yeah, for sure. And then it's kind of like getting a tattoo. It's like, oh dude, we did this, like it feels good, that gives us some purpose. Let's try this. And so the thing that helped us tremendously when we first started was getting this certifiably green certificate with the city of Denver, because they were the ones that were like, here's how you really evaluate like your impact and how to be better. And you had to go through this rigorous program.
Do you know if they have that in other places? Because I know Denver's kind of a place where they would like push that, but
I hope they do. Like it would be interesting to learn that. But like I can give you the nuts and bolts. Like it is. I wish that it wasn't as complex of a process, because it muddied the waters of like the crystal clear steps, and I could break those down for you pretty easy. Yeah. But part of it was like, yes, you got to go. These older buildings have T12 lighting, consume a lot of energy, got to go LED. And a lot of times you can get rebates from XL, so it kind of like offsets that cost. But that was like one, getting energy efficient toilets, evaluating your consumption of water and energy, which is really hard for us to do at this building because we're all on like metered. Like it's an 80,000 square foot building and our utilities isn't separated out, so we have no idea how much we're consuming. So that was a really hard thing to like try to work around. But it just gives you a baseline so that when you do start trying to make improvements, like adding an Inpro or like a Lotus Holland for reclaim, that you can actually like track the data of how much water you're saving. But what's interesting too is like it was kind of whack, because I was like, okay, yeah, we'll get more energy efficient toilets, you know, but that seems like here comes an analogy, bro. I'm already thinking about it. That's like throwing a fucking penny at a king, you know. It just seems like you're okay. That wasn't a good one, but it just seems like you're it just like it's some
so
of these
small
things that are, yeah, bro. It's just like, yes, let's do it. It's easy, but also that's kind of whack. Like we're talking about China and all these third world countries that are like massively damaging the planet. Is my stupid toilet going to make
I also think about this too. This might be a stupid little thing, but like if you're switching out all your lighting, is it kind of, are you offsetting the cost enough to throw away all the current lighting you have? Or like the toilets, if you have to rip a toilet out and throw that in the dumpster and it goes to the landfill, or is it offsetting the little bit of water you're saving in that water saving toilet?
Yeah, those are valid points.
Offset the fact that you just threw 4 toilets in the dumpster?
Yeah, that's a valid point, you know. And that's why like the sustainability game is like, it's frustrating, because it's like every time you think you're taking a step forward, then you really evaluate things and you're like, am I, you know, because what's the offset or what's the consequence of this? And so, yeah, like I started getting in this state of mind of like, yeah, we went through this whole certification and we did all the things that they told us to do to like bring things down. But then once that was over, it was like, well, this kind of sucks, because like we did all these 10 things, these 10 steps, and I don't feel like that's making a very big impact. So then that's where you have to take the liberty of saying like, you know, we have a business to run. It's really difficult to just be like spearheading these topics and finding new creative ways to like offset emissions. And so we ended up hiring Cam initially as a sustainability director. This was like years after our mission, because before it was just me trying to like get a plan of attack on how to do better and be better. But we joined this group called Terraloop. It's still like, it's just released from beta stage, but what it does is it introduces you to all these different types of businesses in your area to see where some of the things that you're over consuming or wasteful of, like that maybe another business can take those things, and you get this whole like closed loop circuit. And so that was cool because we could say, okay, well, we've you know, we want to do branding on our boxes going out, but that kind of sucks to like waste all those boxes. So instead of just recycling them and hoping that they make it to the landfill, like, you know, we linked up with the zoo to start donating our boxes to the zoo that they could use for these like animal, you know, shelters, and just, you know, how can local businesses start using some of the materials that are just wasted?
How do you find time to do that stuff? You said you had a guy that, you said Cam, so somebody came on board and their role, like their sole function was to maximize sustainability. That's they could devote their time to that.
Yeah, and that's where it starts going from like low, like easy point of entry stuff that's not super expensive for a small shop, to like, okay, now we're having to like make some investment in this. You know, we're having to pay a full salary for somebody to research like how we can be better in different ways to make these offsets. So, you know, and then it goes all the way to where we are now, which is, you know, working with 1% for the planet, donating 1% of our revenue to different various causes. And that's a whole conversation in itself, because it's a mind trip. When you actually have like tangible, good monetary contributions, then you start having these like ethical conversations of how far is our dollar going and how do we decide to do this.
Right. And I feel like that's where it turns for a lot of people. We were saying earlier, like selling someone on a sustainable tea versus a regular tea, but without knowing any of the backstory other than saying this one's organic and this one's not, it's kind of like, I don't know, there's a lot of people, like I buy stuff from, like if I buy a shirt from a friend online or whatever, where it says like for every $10 you spend, we'll plant 5 trees or something. To me, that's like, holy shit, like I'll gladly buy like 4 more shirts knowing that like I just planted 40 trees or something. Like to me, that's more like I would love to do as much as I could in the shop, as far as like a lot of things you listed, like I've already done when we did like renos here and stuff. But like, I would love to just be like, all right, I know that at the end of this year, Upstate contributed to planting fucking, I don't know, however many thousands of trees, or clean up on some beach or whatever we could do. Like, I would just like that in the back of my head to be like, all right, well, this got done, or this got cleaned up, or this got replanted or whatever.
Yeah, no, totally. And that's what goes to my point of the frustration too, is that once you really start immersing yourself into this, it's like you kind of get to a point where it's like, okay, I feel like we've really done everything that we physically can, but outside of not producing anything anymore, like how far down that rabbit hole do you go? You kind of get to a plateau. And that's where it's like, once you've done all those things that you can do yourself, then it's like you need to start pledging your revenue to, like, at least for us, that's where it's like we go to 1%, or taking it a step further, like this year is where we'll probably donate the most revenue we've ever considered, because we're doing 1%. And then we're also doing climate offsets, which is a pretty big deal, you know, in terms of like, you can track your carbon emissions doing this like formula based on how many employees you have, the square footage of your building, your utility usage. And then it'll tell you, okay, you have 71,000 pounds of carbon emissions. Here's how you offset it. You got to fucking pay up, bro. You know, and then you can pick your organization that you pay that to. And that's one of the things that I've opened the topic up to our employees here is, all right, we have real money that we're giving back to. We got to pick an organization for 1% for the planet, and we got to pick one of 5,000 places that we give our carbon offsets to. Who the fuck do you, like, how do you decide what nonprofit or what environmental program to give your money to? And then you start, you know, it's a tough, like, ethical decision, because then you start thinking, damn, how many nonprofits are there? And it's kind of the same ethos as working with a marketing agency. Like, if I were to hire a marketing dude that's a wizard and pay him a $60,000 a year salary versus giving $60,000 to a marketing agency, how far is that dollar going to be spent, like, going to go with an agency? How many people do they need to pay to where it goes to your actual campaigns?
It's like you give one of those companies money, you see them all driving like Mercedes and like doing all this stuff. It's like, Well, how much
Yeah.
money is actually going to the thing versus how much money is going to them being comfortable.
Yeah, for sure. Or like I think all these nonprofits and these environmental activists or companies, organizations, they're all good intentions, dude. Like I don't think anybody's like has ill intentions,
Right.
but I don't necessarily think that everybody has the clear answer. And Tom's shoes model is a classic example of that. Like great intentions, buy a pair, give a pair, but then how many fucking pairs of Tom's shoes are in the landfill in the oceans? There was a cost to that. There's an environmental impact to that, like good natured effect for humanity. And I think there's a lot of things that are happening now that it may take us 10, 20, 30 years to recognize that there are like negative consequences.
Yeah.
And it's the same philosophy of the Allmade with the tri-blend, Here we are thinking like, oh, this is the best way we can manufacture this, but there's a cost to that too. You're taking bottles out of this recycle chain, putting them into textiles, and then microplastics are a problem. So it's constantly like one step forward and then a step back and reevaluating. And that's the most frustrating thing of sustainability is you're never really feeling like,
I get it.
I don't know.
Well,
Yeah,
I
like
think
sometimes you have good intentions and you end up doing more harm than good, let's say, or maybe it's just doesn't really even help anything. Like Dylan was saying earlier, you replace all your light bulbs, but what do you do with them? Do you throw them away, or who do you give them to that can use them until they burn out? Like I always feel, so when I pull our recycling can down to the curb,
how
I feel
much that
terrible.
actually makes it into recycling.
I think maybe it all
Yeah,
does,
that's
but
a good point too.
But honestly, I feel terrible because I'm like, it's not even worthy of the truck to stop there burning diesel fuel to spend 30 seconds to go and then take because we don't have that much, like it's just two of us most of the time. And so we have a couple of bottles will drop in there or whatever. And so I don't pull it down every week even. Sometimes I'll just let it sit in the garage,
We have
till it gets fuller.
We have probably like
Dude, real quick, Dylan, sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Can I pee?
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Was that a good pee?
Yeah, dude. I've been chugging these LDs.
I got a question for you, or not a question, but more of a statement though, to kind of circle back to. I know you've referenced like I do as much as I can. I'm looking into all this stuff, but really ultimately the only thing that can really help us or save us or whatever is to not print any shirts. But I think the biggest thing for me is like seeing companies like yours and then seeing like the Allmade thing and all this other stuff. I feel like I don't think our industry necessarily needs to stop doing what it's doing because it does a lot of good as well with like what we are offering and what it does for people and everything else. But I feel like seeing shops like yours doing what you're doing is inspiring to make more shops want to do that. And then as a whole, I feel like if we're all offsetting or we're all doing as much as we possibly can, it's got to be way better. Like it's got to be way better for all of us to do that and better for the environment in the long run and everything. So I think keep fucking doing what you're doing, dude, is all I'm saying. And, like the more I guess we can put out there to talk about, hopefully on this show, it gets people to want to reach out to you and find out more what they can do if you're willing to share.
Yeah, dude, I'm super glad you brought up. That's like the best point you could bring up because I didn't want to be doom and gloom to like, oh, stop asking for volume. I think it's all the way out of this thing is for conscious consumerism. And unfortunately, like when there's turmoil and there's struggle and survival, like purpose and conscious consumerism is the last thing that people think about. But there's a lot of people in the position to think twice about what they're consuming and just be aware, be aware of the cost of like a commodity item like a t-shirt. It's thought of as so cheap, but how many hands does it touch and how much profit scraping happens along that journey of the t-shirt to bring it to you finished for $4 a piece? Like,
yeah.
There has to be like more intrinsic value in the decisions that consumers make. So I would more so put it on the consumer to make change. And one of the discussions that we had in Haiti on that first trip, because we're just fired up, dude. Like we're all so stoked to develop this and bring this to market and just have so much purpose and passion and drive. But somebody was like, well, what if like one of the big dogs like gets wind of what we're doing and like has the resources and money to do it better?
Yeah.
And we kind of like paused for a minute, and it was like, we all were just like, well, then fuck yeah, then we win, then
Right.
it's
The
like,
mission
that's
is
the whole
actually
purpose.
accomplished then.
Yes, because you're inspiring other people to do it better. And when you get these like big corporate cogs, and that's my point too, like that's why we don't have people coming to us for the cheapest shirt, is like we've built this culture and this dialogue, and now we're attracting corporations that, whether or not like it's in their heart to be sustainable, now they have this like corporate responsibility to do it. And so we're attracting those people, and it's, I mean, however you get over the finish line, it doesn't really matter. It's just, what matters is that people are trying to do better, and it all starts with the consumer. But that's a really good point, man.
Yeah.
Well put, Dom. You told me you had a crazy story or a wild story about, I don't know if it was you that almost burned down your shop, or somebody on your team, or somebody broke in, something happened.
Yeah, man. I've told this to a couple people, but people are always curious because they get tidbits of it. But so there's this dude that was homeless. We have a lot of homeless people around here. I know most do, but it's really bad for us. And it was like right around the time they were doing all that work in Haiti, and I'm like, man, we're helping all these people. Like, it's my responsibility to help people in my own backyard too. So I started chopping it up with this dude, and he was like really smart, man. Like, he was just, I was like, what the fuck are you doing on the street? Like, you seems like you could be working here. He's probably in his like mid 30s. And so I was like, we built up this rapport, and I was like, hey dude, you want to hop in the truck? I'm going to go to Home Depot. We can just kind of vibe out for a minute. And he started telling me about boxing Joe Frazier, like, and then having a heart attack and like all this crazy shit. So I was like, I think maybe we could do like a documentary on this guy. So I pulled out my phone and just started recording what he was saying, because I couldn't believe it. And I could tell he was like definitely probably on drugs, but also like had his shit together enough for me to invest in him. And so we went to Home Depot, and we get back in the truck, and like it was synced to Bluetooth. Okay. So like when we got in the truck, all the recording of his voice just started playing back over the speakers. And he's already kind of a tweaker dude, and they are like conspiracy theorists. And so he just hears his voice playing, and he's like, what the fuck, And so I had to explain to him, like, I was like, man, I just think you're interesting. And
did he
so
not know you were recording him before?
No.
Oh God.
No.
That's way
I
worse.
just started doing it. And so anyways, that was like the first time I met him, but we struck up this relationship, and I started having him clean screens for us. And it lasted like way too long. The problem was, dude, like once you start paying people with when you're working in Haiti, people don't even smoke cigarettes or drink, because there just
It's a stigma.
isn't money or resources, like that's the last thing. They just are dignified people that want to work. But when you apply that same like humanitarian philosophy back here, and people have drug problems, man, like it's super dangerous, especially when you start paying people. Then they start taking more and more drugs, and it's kind of a lost cause, unfortunately. But so we employed him for like 3 months, dude, and it got weirder and weirder, and all my employees were like, well, and also he said he was a superhero, and he was like, that was how it all
Obviously.
happened. He saved people in the winter. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when I was just talking with him, he was just on it, dude. And he was so dialed. And I was like, why don't you talk to our team? So, cause he was just scared of people and regular civilization. Anyways, long story short, most of the girls here and all the dudes were like, what the fuck are you doing? This is just super uncomfortable and getting weirder and weirder. And he started thinking that we had a sound weapon or a sound machine that we were playing. And I finally got to the point where I was like, I got to cut this. It's not necessarily safe. And then he kept coming back. And then eventually, like, he started doing some shit. And I had to call the cops on him because it got that bad.
I mean, so you let him go, but he kept showing up, you're saying?
Yeah. And he was like methed out, and that's just like a hard thing to deal with when you're running a business and trying to divert situations, screaming at the top of his lungs. I was like, bro, this is beyond what I can do. I got to call the cops. So this was like I think it was like before the pandemic, but the cops couldn't do anything. So they released him the next day, and then he had like a vendetta against us. And so He came, he boarded up all of our doors and then lit cardboard on fire and put it under the doors to try to start a fire, like hoping we were in there to like burn it down, bro. And then so we checked the camera footage, and then he came back in at 6:30 in the morning and like busted the doors open, and Gordy had to fight him off with like a 2x4.
Jesus.
And dude, it was like a crazy lesson learned, because like that could have been a dope story. Like if that had worked out and like it changed his life around, that would have been dope. I would have been so stoked, and I wanted it to be that way. But I don't know what the moral of the story is, bro. But you know, the unfortunate thing with like the homeless population is if they are on drugs, man, it's really hard to get somebody to change, you know, like they really have to want to change themselves. And sometimes you can actually be contributing or enabling it instead of solving the problem.
Yeah. Is there anything near you where you could have kind of taken him, been like, hey, I'll hire you, but part of the stipulation is that like you have to go to this place like every so often to get checked out or whatever?
Man, I don't know. I mean, I was coaching him on how to like fit in with like society. Like,
well, he was a
gave him
superhero,
pass
so
to shower, and yeah, he was a superhero.
Right.
But no, there's not like a whole lot of those programs here, dude. I mean, maybe there is, but I just didn't even think to like go that direction.
Doesn't that suck, man? Because you want to help people like that, you know, and so you want to give back and you want to help somebody out. And like you said, it could have been a dope story. But now, since you were burned like that, literally almost burned, you know, you don't want to do it anymore. Or maybe you do, but I wouldn't. Yeah. You know, you're like, now, hey, wait, that's sketchy. I learned from it. And it sucks because maybe the next time it would have worked out, you know, because I'm sure there's stories where that end good. You know, I had a not similar situation because he didn't have a vendetta against me or anything, but there was a press op that was awesome. This is going back years, and he lived pretty far from here, and his mom and his dad died, and within the same few years or something. And he didn't have a car. The car that he did have actually broke down, and so they didn't have a car, so he didn't have transportation to get here. And so I bought him a car, like a used car, and put it in his name. And so he was like, man, this is great. You know, like, fuck yeah. And so he showed up here every day on time. He sold it the
next day.
He sold it. No, he got a title loan and used that money for drugs, and then they repoed it. And then he told me the day it got repoed, said, hey man, I got to tell you something. He told me, and then that was it, you know? So like, it's, And so in my head, I'm like, well, I'm never doing that again, you know? But which sucks.
It makes it, when you have something like that, it's hard to rebound from that and want to continue to do it. And like, it sucks, dude, because I've always said like your personal philosophy and running a business, like, those worlds collide sometimes. Like you have to look out, and now that looking back, I'm like, dude, I put like my employees in a lot of things at risk by doing that, and I should have like known when to pull the plug on that way sooner than I did, you know? No,
but you were doing the right thing. You were being empathetic, you know, so like you're at a constant, I feel like it's at a you know, on one hand you're empathetic and you want to help this person, on the other you have to run a business and it's about profit and loss. And so they collide, you know, and you have to figure out this balance of, wait, when do I do it and when do I don't? And so it's tricky.
I think the hard part is that we're not professionals at like dealing. Like you have to realize that like these people have mental illnesses. That's probably what got them on the streets in the first place. So it's another one of those things, like we were saying, like investing money in like 1% for the planet and all this other stuff. It's like, maybe if it was a big deal in your area, maybe the next thing is to do is invest, you know, maybe fundraise or give money to a local shelter or local something that has to do with helping them, like people who went to school for that shit.
Yeah, it took me down a rabbit hole of like what the moral thing is, because like Denver's better, and I like feel for people in Seattle and Oregon, because it's an epidemic, but it's like, yeah, I don't know really what the answer is, you know, for people like that. It's really hard to force somebody to get in a treatment facility, and it's just something that every major city is battling right now. But the businesses are definitely like the ones that are most affected. I mean, that's one story of probably 10 that I have of these crazy like homeless scenarios that that like make good stories, but the reality is it's like super unfortunate and sad. You know,
Yeah.
this dude that I'm kind of still homies with, his name is Kenny, man. He was like a Z boy. He hung out with the Z boys, and at least he said he did, in Venice, like in the 70s. And dude, he like, it fucking sucks to be a bum here, bro. Like, it's so cold. He got frostbite and lost 2 of his toes, and then he had this nerve damage in his back, so he became paralyzed from it. And now he's just like, he's this rad dude, but now he's this old weathered man that just has no home, lives in a truck, like, and it's just it sucks, bro. It pulls at the heartstrings, but it's like there's nothing you can really do, you know. But just to see, and he was actually like in the screen print industry, dude. He worked at OP back in the day when OP was here in the 80s, and he was a press op. And now he's just like, I don't know how old he is, bro. He looks like he's 275, but he's probably like 65.
He's a skeleton.
Yeah, man. But so anyways, we see a lot of weird shit here. Denver's a pretty clean city overall, but we're in kind of the ratchet, like sketchy part for sure.
All right. You guys want to do some listener questions?
Sure.
This one's
You need help?
Well, this one's like a paragraph. It's super long.
Okay, bring it.
All right, fine. Sick Dope Fresh says, first off, gotta say thanks to Superior Ink and Cam for taking me through the shop and letting me nerd out when I was up in the Colorado area at the beginning of the month. Was so dope. My question is, what are some of the bottlenecks and frustrating things about being a really sustainable shop? I know from personal experience that sometimes just sourcing sustainable products can be frustrating. I would love to hear any solutions you guys have found as well. Keep crushing it, y'all. So, I mean, we kind of touched on that, but is there anything that we didn't talk about that you think is a key factor?
I mean, as far as like the challenge, I mean, we kind of touched on that. It's just it's a constant grind, dude. It's a discipline that you have to endure, and then also have your team, because it can be super discouraging. You know, one, that there aren't very many options for sourcing garments, but two, just, you know, like we said, you just feel like you take a step forward and then you learn something that makes you feel like you took a step back. But I think, you know, in terms of challenge, I think it's just trying to do your best every single day and, you know, not get discouraged, because it's easy to get overwhelmed. But like we said, where we found success in it is just educating customers as much as we possibly can, to where you start attracting that mentality that and clients that you know, share similar core values as you.
Yeah. United State Pritco says, how much time and effort goes into your Instagram reels?
Dude, it's way too much. It's way too much time.
Did
I don't
you
know if
guys
it can
hire somebody to do that, or is it like a third party thing, or what?
This dude, Drew, the director, he rents space from us upstairs, and he was here for like 6 months. I never even spoke hardly one word to him. And then he did a sample edit for us, and I was like, holy shit, like, let's start working. But there's ones that like literally take us 10 minutes to concept and shoot, and then there's ones that are like scripted, that, you know, like the Deals one and the Gen Z one. Those are a beast, dude. You really have to like conceptualize it, and then you have to script it down to where you're not fumbling while you're shooting it, and it takes a lot of time. We're gonna do a zipline one pretty soon, where like I show you how to like minimize cell phone usage in the shop, and I like zip line down and karate kick a phone out of someone's hand like that. That's gonna be a full day shoot. And then
I think you need to do an analogy series. You know, just
ooh, that's a good idea.
Picking ripe fruit.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
yeah.
It's weird. I talked about this a little bit on Printavo, but it's so funny, man. Like, content creators there's like young kids that just murder it, you know, and just are so funny. And it's almost like they're comedians that just have like this innate ability to be funny and come up with topics. And dude, I have so much fun doing them. Like, I'm going to keep doing them. It's really expensive, and there's not a whole lot of return for us, because it's kind of attracting, like,
I feel like it isn't. It
business
isn't
that
because
comes
it's
out
kind of
of
like a
it, but-
billboard. It's like you don't know exactly how many people see it, but the
You
more
can't
people
track
see
it.
it, the more people see it, the more they just think of your brand. So I mean, that's why.
Yeah, we kind of talked about it as like validation. You know, like if I want to go get Vail Resorts, they ain't seeing our damn TikTok or Instagram. Like that's referral or like direct communication. But if like 70-year-old Deborah, who's the purchasing manager, like, you know, we contact her and then she sees our Instagram and thinks it's funny, like there's some validation that
Right.
may be a return. But yeah, it's more just like fun shit for me to do.
Yeah.
That may or may not yield business. We'll see.
Yeah, I get it. And the funny thing is, when you first started doing them, I think your like first 1 or 2 videos were kind of like, Chris, who works for me, was doing a bunch of videos for me like a couple years ago that were kind of like that. And all of his scripts and everything he wrote up to make a video on were usually like negative things about the customer. Like he kept wanting to be like, oh, let's make one on turnaround and tell them like, hey, fuckhead, like basically it takes this long. And I'm like, dude, you can't like talk shit about the customer in every video. And like your first
Yeah,
one
dude,
was
that's-
about like the shitty customer coming in and wanting to do a clothing line. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's I fully understood that video because I was like, we've wanted to make so many like that where I was just like, it's probably not the best idea to like tear at the customer.
It's the easiest point of entry because you just have stories for days.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I've started like catching wind of is that I'm not like, there's a lot of relatable content that we can shoot, but I'm trying to break outside of our industry because our industry is really small. Like I want relatable content that like any business owner can relate to.
Right. And then it pulls
so
them
that's
in
where
a
I've
little
been-
bit too.
Yeah, you just reach a broader audience, like shit that a construction dude that owns a business can relate to, as well as a paper mill.
Yeah, I'm
guy,
1,000% behind that because there's enough videos of a squeegee printing a shirt, you know, with no humans in it, let's say. And so I think what you're doing is great, and maybe it's even a little bit off brand, but that's super solid and good to do because it shows you a piece of it shows personality, you know, to the company, and I think that's people like that. They are drawn to that. So yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Thanks. dude.
Matt from Relentless says, has your shop considered solar power?
Yeah, we definitely considered it. It's a challenge when you don't own the building.
Right.
You know, I have to get the landlord on board with it, and you know, we've invested so much money into this place for him already that it just we probably won't be here for more than the next couple of years.
Have you
And
looked at
he's
this?
definitely not on board.
Have you looked at the solar farm idea, or do you guys have those in Denver?
No.
We have a lot of them here in New York where it's basically like solar companies buy up like huge fields and they come to you and they're like, hey, like invest in like however many solar panels it takes to run your shop in our farm. And they're your panels. Like I could do whatever. Like if I moved, they're still my panels in some other farm. And my amount of electricity goes back to the grid or to NICEAG. For me, it's NICEAG. So it's just, I have solar panels, but they're on somebody else's property. They're just my panels.
Yeah, and they also, when you buy the solar panel, they also give you a star and name it after you.
Yeah. That's not true.
I'm saying that.
But that's something I looked into here. It was basically like I would need to buy, I can't remember what it was. It was something like 150 solar panels or something. And that would be what I would need to run my shop. Like they did a whole report, gave me the whole thing. I was thinking about doing it, but the only thing that made me not do it, it was going to be like something like $140,000 investment to get the solar panels, and with like all the New York State rebates and everything. And the only thing that made me not want to do it is they said, and I might be wrong, is there was something like the lifespan of the solar panel was like 10 years. And I was like, well, I don't want to spend all this money and buy all this stuff if the panels only last 10 years.
So that's an interesting, I don't know where we are in time. I'm just going to keep riffing, but it is a topic of discussion. I think it's important. When we, so we're pledging our revenue to POW, which is Protect Our Winners. It's an organization started by a pro snowboarder. They're big into legislation. And that's something that I'm interested on. Maybe your listeners' feedback. This could maybe spawn into another one. But one of the things that I was fearful of is there's so much talk about fossil fuels and going solar and green energy for the 2050 initiative. But to be honest, like I don't necessarily fully agree with that. Like, and that's where the sustainability topic is a struggle of like your personal ethics, and then also like trying to make the biggest impact, because there's always an offset to something. And that's where I have a hard time, because we're trying to eliminate fossil fuels and go solar. But what's the environmental impact of that 100 years, 200 years from now?
Fields of
and
solar panels.
Yeah, bro. But to just take that a step further, it's like, that's the other frustrating thing for me, is that even if every business in America adopts like sustainable practices, 90% of the stuff is manufactured in Asia or China, which is like the worst at that. Like they don't have the same ethical standards or the environmental standards that we do.
Right.
So that's what I fear, that if we're making these big strides to eliminate fossil fuels, is that really going to make an impact on the environment, or is that just going to force everything to be done offshore where they don't uphold those same standards, and then it degrades our economy because we're not able to like produce things here?
Right.
Like, how do you eliminate fossil fuels and diesel and then still like build at the level that we're building here? And that's like a complex. The only reason I bring that up is because I give a fuck about the environment so much. Like I'm super passionate about it, but I don't necessarily fall into this pool of this is 100% what we need to be doing.
Yeah.
I think it's arrogant to like think that this is the end all solution, because I don't necessarily think it is. And I think there's a lot of political people in play that want to talk about the green initiative that really don't give a fuck. They just want
to sell more. They want to sell more solar panels too. Yeah, I think it's one of those things, like you kind of just have to be open-minded, like you're saying, and you're constantly learning. Like we don't all have the answers. We're just trying to make the best decisions with what we have. So
before you go into your next thing, I was just kidding about that star, but for real, a lot of those companies are sketchy that are selling you solar or rights to a solar farm, and there are actual litigation firms set up that just handle lawsuits against that stuff. And so just be careful.
Well, I'm not
if you
doing
sign up
it.
for that sort of
I said
thing.
that
I know.
already.
That's all. Just be careful, because there's slick salesmen out there.
Yeah. Well, there's a shitload of questions in here that all have to do with sustainable stuff, and I feel like we went on a lot of it, so I'm going to skip some of them. But for one last question from Juan at Squeegee Prince, he says, if you had to scale up, what would you add? If you had to scale down, what would you get rid of? More of a print shop question.
I feel pretty good about where we're at. I mean, we're getting a oval in December. We're pretty automated now. I feel like I wouldn't really change much. I don't really want to grow past where we are at the moment. And then if I were to scale down, dude, I don't know. It's a really good question. But do you guys, I mean, I feel like you've covered that a couple times here with your shops. I don't know, man. Like, I feel like we're in a good spot, swapping one press we'll now have 3 autos, one being an oval, and then an auto tag press, auto reclaim, auto coat.
I feel like all 3 of our shops are kind of in the same boat, where we're kind of comfy with what we have and we kind of want to stay where we're at. But for some of the shops that we know that are like, they had like 20 autos or something, a lot of them are scaling back to be kind of where we're at. And I feel like their model is sell off a bunch of stuff, keep the good stuff, or go back to maybe like 3-4 autos. And then they're just outsourcing stuff that they can't handle with their 3-4 autos. So I feel like that's what they're doing, is they're just like, let's keep what we're comfy and good with and then outsource the rest.
Yeah, that's a good move. Dude, I also just thought of something too, back on the sustainability. This would be quick, but I honestly think that another huge factor is the conscious supply chain. Like, make sure that you're purchasing things that are sustainable. Like, dude, we got 30 people shitting here a day. Like, we go through so much toilet paper, and just making sure you're buying like 7th generation or recyclable
or bidets.
Or bidets would be tight too. But then we'll be throwing away our toilets we just installed as an offset to that.
Oh God, we keep offsetting.
I know, man. It's a struggle. But no, to answer his question, I wouldn't probably do much to downgrade or upgrade right now. We're chilling.
You're just
We're in a
comfy.
good spot.
Yeah, same.
I get that. All right, let's do quick takes.
Oh yeah, quickie takes.
Andy, you go first. Or Dom, do you have any questions for us or anything you want to add to like maybe a shop hack or anything like that?
Dude, I'm super stoked on. I mean, I don't want to gas you up because you always get gassed up. I want to keep you in check.
Okay, cool.
You guys are doing it. This is a really good, dude. This is super good discussions for the industry. I would say maybe try to keep that, like, I know this is shirt show, but have that same philosophy we have on social media where we can, you know, bring listeners from outside the industry a little bit to give perspective, because I think there's a ton of value there. But I love what you guys are doing, dude. I nerd out on it all the time. You know, listening to what you guys have to say in other shops. It's such a good community that we have. And
It really
but
is.
no, I don't really have any questions for you. Keep doing what you're doing. I love it.
Thanks, dude.
Cheers. Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, Andy, hit him with it.
Dominic, how do you start your day?
That's a good one. I usually like start by waking up.
I never thought of that.
That's clever.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Solid.
It's just something that's like unique to me.
Right.
No, I wake up and try to stay off my phone, man. Try to get the sun in my eyeballs like first thing.
Yes.
That's a big
That's
one.
a big one.
I don't usually go to the gym or anything until like evenings. I'm kind of a, you know, if I'm trying to get some fitness in, I usually wait. Try not to eat until I get overly hangry and people are worried to come into my office.
Are you doing like
you know,
the
which is-
intermittent fast thing? Is that why?
I try to. Yeah, I try to. I just think when I eat early, I just am hungry throughout the entire day. And usually if I wait till like 11 or noon, I can get a lot of shit done in the morning, and then by the time I eat, I'm fueled up for the second half of the day.
That's
But
something
yeah,
I'm
that's
gonna try.
about it. You know, I don't have like a crazy routine. I pretty much just wake up and go where the day takes me. It just depends on circumstances and what I'm dealing with at the time.
Shotgun and LD.
Yeah, baby. Of course. You got to do the still water one though, dude. That carbonation. will
Yeah, it'll
fuck
get you.
up.
Any good movies or shows or books you're into right now?
I am. I'm into 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. I think that dude has some crazy wisdom, super controversial, but has some pretty cool shit that I tried to just be the best person that I could be. So I like that one. I like let's see. As far as shows and stuff, man, I haven't really been sucked into any shows for a while. I like war movies for some reason.
All Quiet on the
like
Western
modern
Front
day.
just came out.
I haven't heard of that. I might have to scope
Well,
it.
wasn't it? I'm not a reader, but wasn't that a book like a super fucking long time ago? They just made it into a movie. It's like a Netflix movie. It's supposed to be
Yeah, I
super
watched the
epic and
trailer, and this it seems like
It's like
he's
in German.
18, and he walks into I guess being recruited, or actually I don't know what it is. He walks in to go off to war, and they hand him a uniform, and he's like, oh cool, he's like super stoked. He's ready to go, you know,
Yeah.
fight for his country, and he
It
walks
shows them all chipper, like walking.
Yeah, and
marching.
he looks down and he's like, "Oh, wait!" And he goes back to the guy who gave him that uniform. And he goes, "Hey, I think this might have been for somebody else. It has their name in it." And he goes, "Oh, let me see." And he takes the uniform. Then he rips out this tag and then drops it so that the kid didn't see. And he goes, "Oh no, it was just a mistake. It's yours or something." And he starts to walk away. And I think it implied that somebody had been wearing that like last week and was killed, like on the front.
Oh, damn.
You know, and then they just took that uniform and gave it to this guy, you know, because basically that's what he's going to, like, to the trenches, you know.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets me fired up, dude. I don't know like why I like war movies or like cowboy movies, but I like to see people like getting after it hard. It gets me stoked and inspired, and like, I don't know. It's so weird. Like my little brother's a Marine and a firefighter, and then my little sister's like super hippie environmentalist in Durango. So I'm the older brother and kind of try to live somewhere in the middle. But I definitely I like seeing people go through like a lot of struggle, because it makes my struggles feel like very inferior.
Right.
And then I feel
It's
like
the same
I
reason
have a
why
lot
people
more
watch
give.
trash TV is because it makes them feel good about their lives.
Totally.
So-
like quarters and shit.
Yeah.
I'll get down on
I'm
that.
a Gen Xer, and I legit played war. Like you wouldn't call your friends. You like knock on the door and say, "Hey, you want to play war? Yeah, let's play war, man." And so we would play war. Like that was a thing we did outside, you know. And
Yeah.
We just
Even
beat
if
each
you-
other up and shot each other with BB guns.
yeah, you just even if you didn't have a gun, you pretend you make something that was a gun. You know, you'd run around and just play war.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
It
we
was
used
fun.
to do that paintball in the wood. I grew up in the country, so we would be getting down on that too. Like you'd like have a barbarian stick or like, you know, nunchucks, you know, just whatever you could find.
We had paintball courses in our we had like a dirt bike track and stuff, and we had paintball courses in there with like old car doors where we could crank the window down and shoot through the window and then crank it back up, or tree stands.
Oh hell yeah.
But then that upgraded to BB guns, and then it got dangerous because we had Red Ryder BB guns at first where you got hit with it, it hurt, but it wouldn't like penetrate. And then some kids started to get pumped BB guns, and that's where it started to like, my brother got shot like right in the like eyebrow, and it like a BB went like under his eyebrow. And then we were like, yeah, we have to stop doing that. I think that's a bad idea.
Dude, those days are long gone for next generation. I worry about my daughter in that too. That's why I take her fishing and shit. I want to show her what,
Right.
you know,
Be
real
outside.
engagement of life is, you know?
Yeah.
Dude, I wanted to give a shout out to John McGee, bro, real quick.
Yeah.
And I want to call him out on something. So when I didn't really talk about my entry into screen printing, but when I first started, John McGee do you guys know who
Yep.
he is?
He's with
Yeah, he had a-
Aviant.
Yep. He had a skate shop called Fake Skateboards, and he's the one that taught me how to screen print because it was before the internet. Well, not before the internet, but you know, before YouTube and shit. And so I have a lot to thank for John. I never publicly said that, but I appreciate him, and I also feel like he was so stoked on like little Grom screen printing that I feel like I inspired him to get back into the screen print world. And I've never told him that, so I hope he hears this and he's like stoked on the shout out, but also gives some cred to like being inspired to get out of skateboarding and go back into screen printing.
It's awesome.
I'll give John some cred. When we were on the quest for the best white ink in the world, he helped us find it. And so, and what he helped us find wasn't that there was the best white ink out of a bucket. It was that how you print your white ink. And so he happened to, we did a lot of it over the phone, but then he was in St. Louis for some reason, I think randomly. And my team and him went out to lunch, and then we came back here, and then we worked it out. And so, and it was just the other day actually that we realized that a lot of, when that went down, that was, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, we realized that a lot of the printers aren't here that were here then. And we haven't properly handed that and passed that knowledge down because we were printing just this white, just like this double white, PFP white. And it didn't look so hot. And we're like, wait, so why doesn't it? And why didn't you recognize that it doesn't look like as good as it could be? And granted, you know, these days when you open up a bucket, it's not always the same, even though it's the same, you know, it's the same manufacturer. It's not always the same because they're sourcing materials from different places now. But it occurred to us like, oh, wait, you know, we actually need to have a clinic, we're going to call them, like from 7:30 to 8, you know, just before work, and not really long because, you know, people's attention spans and whatever. And also it costs. We're just do mini clinics, let's say. And one of them is going to be on how to print the brightest white, and everybody's going to be involved. Even the people that have been here a little bit longer, just to remember like, oh yeah, you know, that's what we did. It's a combination of a lot of different things. And so John taught me that, because I was like, oh, well, it's the ink, you know, it's the ink's fault. Like if it's not bright, oh, it's the ink's fault. But it's almost always not the ink's fault. It's something you're doing, you know, in the process.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Thanks,
Yeah,
John.
that dude's
Yeah.
a legend, man. I have a lot I never really told him thank you for that back in the day. I kind of forgot, but he's a good dude.
He is, for sure. So what experience, or is there an experience that stands out while you were growing up that has made an impact on your life or the success of your shop?
Well, the gum sliding situation.
That's true. That was a hard
was
one. He's still battling that right now.
Say it again real quick.
Yeah, is there an experience that when you were a kid or just growing up or even a teenager, really, is there something that impacted you that contributed to your success?
Yeah, I would say so, man. Like, well, I was 16 once, and I was like kind of living in Breckenridge, just being a snow bum, not going to school, and I was at this party one time, and I was like trying to figure out Photoshop, like CS, whatever, original CS, just nerding out, and this dude JRV approached me, and he's like, kind of like respect for not drinking and being a fool and just trying to like nerd out on stuff, and it ended up being like the first designer that I ever worked with, starting Neovolt, the brand that, you know, before Superior Ink, and ended up going to LA with him like 2 weeks later, and that's when I decided to pull the plug on school and just do this full time, because you know, we screen printed stuff in his like little studio, and then I would skate up and down Melrose Avenue and just kind of hustle shirts, and made enough to like get my flight back home. And that was like the pivotal moment for me. Is I don't know if it necessarily attributed to my success, but I think her success
kicked it off.
Finding, yeah, dude, I think I was super fortunate to find what I wanted to do and what I was passionate about at a young age. I think that's what kids really struggle with, is finding what is meaningful and is of intrinsic value. So that moment definitely stands out for altering the course of my life and leaving school. You know, I went to I had this Italian principal. His name was Tony Kappas. And when I decided to not go back to school, I went in there and I said, hey Tony, actually, can I call you Tony? And he goes, no. And I told him, like, I started this business, man. I don't think I'm going to go to school anymore. And he shook my hand, and that was it. And I never really got closure to finishing high school. You know, I dropped out like halfway through junior year. And kudos to my mom, dude, for like not vibing with that, but letting me do. She was just like, I can't really stop you. And so I think she was super fearful that was a
and she supported
decision,
you starting that business, you're saying? Like, she got behind that?
Yeah, man. My mom still is here. Like, she does HR and stuff. And she was going through a terrible like divorce, kind of like right when I started the business, and ended up coming on board with me to help do books, you know? And so when my mom was motivated for this company to work, like when she depended on it, it was like that was Brett, you know.
You have to make it work now if your mom works for you.
Yeah, bro. I mean, that motivation right there, I don't think I would have been where I am without that.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So
Andy, I'm going to change this question because I thought of something the other day. Is there something random that you see like in the world that brings you like happiness, that brings you a little bit of joy?
Random?
Yeah, like something that's really weird that you see and you're just like, brings a smile to your face. Like, for an example, what made me think of this the other day was I was driving, and you ever notice that like once in a while there's like street lights or like a pole or something, and there's always like 4 or 5 birds that just hang out together on it, and you're like, they have to be fucking shooting the shit. They have to be like talking about people like going under them, and they're like, fuck these people, and like, you know what I mean? It's just like something stupid like that. Every time I see like a couple birds together just hanging out, I'm like, I just picture them being like old dudes sitting around drinking, like watching people.
Dude, I love that. I'll riff on that one because I feel the exact same way about pine trees. Like, I feel like pine trees like live in like together for 100+ years, and they're definitely like vibing in their own neighborhoods.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like they're like almost like there's like racism in there, because like some aspen trees will like get into like the pine trees, and they're like, what the fuck, man? Like,
when I was
this was all pines at one point.
They'll grow taller than that tree just to block it out from the sun and kill it.
Yeah.
When I was in Vegas, we were eating at this coffee shop, and this girl I could tell something was wrong, and she was sitting kind of to this table next to us with her, I thought was boyfriend. And all of a sudden she gets up and she goes outside, and we just kind of forget about her. And then a minute or two goes by, Joanne says, oh, that girl's crying. You know, like, look over, and she's crying, and she's with another guy. And then they both come in,
I was hoping
And
that was
then-
the end of your story. That's what makes you happy, is seeing girls go outside and cry.
No, they both come in, and this guy is like just the biggest douchebag, and just the way he's acting or whatever. And I thought for a second like there's going to be a thing where I don't know, she's with this other dude and they're going to fight or whatever, but it was super weird. And then they go out, they leave. We walk outside to get our Uber, and they come out and they get in this. They go to get in this truck, and the guy that was making her cry, like, the truck was like a 6-wheeler. I've never even seen one before, like this custom built truck or something. And I was like, oh,
She was crying because his dick's so small because he has this fucking massive truck.
and that's where it struck me, and I'm like, oh, the world is perfect. Like, it all made sense. Just kind of came together. I said that to Joanne. I'm like, oh, it's just so perfect. Like, now I get it. It makes sense. The world, for the first time, felt like I understood it.
I like that. I'm going to think on this after the fact and have a lot of these good stories for sure.
You're going to text us all this weird shit that he sees.
Oh, 100%.
I'm cool with that. Andy, you got the last one.
What's for dinner?
Something on Uber, dude. I don't cook.
Well, you should do
really
what I'm
don't.
doing tonight and open a jar from Trader Joe's of pumpkin bisque. All you gotta do is open the jar, pour it in a pot, and you turn on the heat, and then you have a little maybe bread and butter or some crackers.
That is 100% something I would never buy in a million years.
Pumpkin bisque?
Yeah,
Like,
I
if
don't
the
know.
world was ending and I went into a grocery store that was already pillaged, I would see that on the shelf and still walk by it.
You'd eat some crickets and shit before.
Yeah, I would be like, I would eat these fucking gross ass grubs on
You'd
the
eat this
ground before I
gross ass
saw
fucking unripe banana. That's what you do.
Yeah, right off the tree.
Yeah, I'm just the worst. I live off Uber Eats, man. It's bad. I'll cook. Like, I cook for my daughter, but that shit's easy, It's like some mac and cheese.
Yeah. Chicken nuggets.
Whatever, but
You have some of
or
that
I-
mac and cheese though.
oh, 100%. Yeah. I got to take some bites.
Cool.
But I could cook steaks, dude. That's about where it ends. I'll cook a steak.
Just eat steaks all the time.
Yeah, maybe I should.
Yeah. Well, Dom, we appreciate you coming on. We've been wanting to have you on for a while. We're glad we got you. Thanks for letting everybody know about the sustainable stuff, and it really kind of opened my eyes a little bit. And I do want to talk to Gildan a little bit and see what their plans are, and I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah.
But we appreciate you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Yeah, be the influence with them, dude. I think they can change a lot in our world for sure. It takes the big dogs getting on board. But are you gonna shop hack me or what?
I asked you if you had one.
Oh, don't shit at work.
Just end the podcast right there.
See ya.
Don't shit at work.
That's when you're the most vulnerable, man. Don't let your employees see you vulnerable.
Well, don't let your employees see you shitting at work.
Well, it's hard to do when you like walk out of the bathroom and you're in there for more than like 2 minutes.
You just
I'll go to Home Depot. Actually, the best one is Whole Foods, dude.